The Buzz with Jess Lujan.
Political Self-Determination with Dr. Bavacqua and Lolan Youngrer of the University of Guam. Self-determination, again, is our topic. Dr. Bavacqua, we're talking, most of the times, hey, don't make this political, because this is not political, this not be political. But really, this is a personal thing with us. And of course, it's labeled political self-determination. It has to be a vote. It's got to be political. So how do we take our personal lives, how do we make this personal being, this personal thing, political?
So as Victoria was talking about before the break, the first step is really to show the people that all of these things affect your life, whether you know about it or not, whether you care about it or not. And if you, so basically people think, if I don't care about decolonization, it doesn't bother me, status quo is good and fine. So you got to show people status quo is a fantasy. It's not real. Like what we have and what we depend upon is all based on sort of fictions, legal fictions, all like that. And so we like those because it makes us feel like we're special in the Pacific and Micronesia, in the world where America's day begins. But all of that is false. It can all be taken away very quickly. And so we really don't have enough conversations about that, because instead what you hear is I like access to these programs, I like this, I like being part of America. And we never ever for a moment think, what does America think about us? We seem to care a lot about them. What do they care about us? And so really what we need is a time where we really look at our situation, and then all of those things come out, and we can connect everything from the price of gas to the state of the schools to the types of roads which are built, to GovGuam priorities, to land use, to environment, all of it to political status. And so now there's the Commission on Decolonization, which is supposed to be kind of pushing these conversations. But at the University of Guam, we've been working hard to bring this out. Micronesian Educator is another way we're trying to bring it out. But the more that people are pushing this conversation, the more that people will feel it in their daily lives. And they won't feel necessarily that dependency where they feel like I can't do anything about it because I want these things, I need these things, but they think, wait a second, can I really plan my future based on these things which could be taken away? Immediately. The status quo, first you have to attack the status quo. The status quo is not safe. It's not real. You can't be, you're not the 51st state, you're not an independent country, you're a territory, you're a colony. But it's that security. Robert Underwood once said we're a very comfortable colony. And colonies are meant to feel comfortable. The colonizer wants you to feel that. And that's what you have to fight against, is that comfort.
But then on the other side of that as well, you also have in both sides you have the extremists, right? You have extremists that again want more self-rule, or we want self-rule basically, that says it's my way or the highway. And that as well, there are some folks out there that says my way or the highway, Yankee go home, that type thing. And although you have valid points in your argument, people don't want to be aligned with you because it says it's everything my way. Can we come to a middle of this? Because this is where we're at. Because what you're doing is you're scaring me into a situation. So again, it's not, I don't think it's as much, we need to educate the folks, but I don't think the folks that have some knowledge of it, I don't think their non-involvement is not because of having apathy, but it's more of maybe a fear that this one particular status, oh man, we're gonna go back to this, and this is not attainable. So maybe I'll just go in the middle. And that's why if they're in the middle, status quo, right? So again, you have the extremists in both sides. So how do we,
Well, I think that again, it leads to a more cultural approach to the conversation. So we are not a me-driven culture. And we work together, we always have. And so if we looked at this as something that we work together towards, and that we all have an equal stake in, and everybody's voice matters, then those fears will come out and we can address them together. When people ask us well, what will Guam's economy be like? Or who will protect us? You know, we will be left defenseless and we could be taken over by China. Or all of those kinds of fears, they're legitimate questions.
Sure.
But the joy in this is that we can figure out those answers together. We don't have to look to someone else for those answers. We are capable and competent and imaginative enough to figure this out as a community. But so long as we hide away from the conversation, we let the extremists dictate the rhetoric around it, or dictate the dialogue, right? What we hear is coming from very polarizing, with either this side or that side, when in fact it should be something that everybody's voice is listened to, and we explore those answers together. If we don't even have the conversation, we will never find the answers we're looking for, and we'll continue to just be left in this position. And so in the Micronesian Educator, Dr. Underwood says that a true indicator that the community is ready for a self-determination vote would be if 10,000 people from this community can somehow show force, right? Go into the streets, for example. So he uses the example of the Arab Spring and how through social networking, people were able to get actually millions of people in the streets, throughout you know, their region, and it was a resurgence, right? And an energy, but it was largely driven by the youth. And so we can't apply the exact same model to Guam. Our conditions are not as extreme as they were there, but we can learn from that, right? That it needs to be a conversation with the youth, that whether we like it or not, the younger people are going to inherit the status that we decide as a community. Their voice, their vision must be equally important. And their apathy is the first and most important thing to change. And so if we can shift it that way, like, okay, let's look to our youth. How do they communicate, and what would get 10,000 of them mobilized? When we were asked to comment as a community on the draft environmental impact statement, we got 10,323 comments. That's unheard of in the NEPA process. But our small island community garnered that much of a response. It's possible to get 10,000 people interested. But what do we engage them in? Do we cower away from the conversation, or do we jump right into it?
I mean, just as recent as I mean, a few years back, and I got the opportunity and the privilege to never serve with him, but to know him, former Senator Angel Santos. He had that. He had that. He was able to mobilize some people at, you know, pretty good numbers at the time, to get the resurgence and the awareness of Chamorro. Of course, definitely pushing for the homeland and the Chamorro Land Trust, right, and all that. But it made get more of awareness of a national people, of a Chamorro people. In his passing, we kind of lost that, maybe just in their busy lives and things of that nature. But we still have that. We still have the desire. I mean, there's still people out there. I mean, I think there's splintered groups at this point, you know. But we still have that, and it can still be done. But how do we bring that back? Because Chamorro Land Trust is still there now. It's so diluted at this point. But how do you get that back? Arab Spring is, I mean, what Angel Santos did is almost equivalent to the Arab Spring in a very small way. Yeah.
There has to be a deep caring. So Vice Speaker Cruz, he made this joke about how once he was invited to a protest, but it got canceled because of the rain. So this idea of rain or shine, you know, that we care about this enough, that we're willing to be present for each other in this conversation and in this movement, and make a statement. And as you've accurately pointed out, this is not a new movement. You know, that there are, from Nation Chamorro to OPIR to Pata and Pata, there are groups, there are people that have dedicated their lives and continue to dedicate their lives, as we see, to these issues. And so they're not going away. Our conversation as a community is, how do we support that? How do we become part of that movement so that it isn't just a few voices, but many?
Yeah. We're going to take a much needed break, come back, have to say goodbye, and oh my gosh, it's been a great 4 weeks, great month. Viva Miss Chamorro. We'll be right back.